Hi, my name is Kira Davis, and I am the host of the brand new podcast, Just Listen to Yourself, the podcast where we ask you, the listener, and everyone else to actually listen to what you're saying out loud. We're so happy to be a part of FCB family. And let me tell you a little bit about myself and what you can expect from this podcast. My name is Kira Davis. I am the editor at large for redstate.com. Red State is a part of the Salem media family, and it is a right-leaning conservative blog. And yes, I am a conservative. Conservative/libertarian, I guess. Conservatarian, do we say? But this show isn't necessarily political, and this show isn't about right or left. This show is about getting people to understand and examine the things that we say out loud and the things that the people we love say out loud, and really dig into what they mean. Because I think that we have a tendency to read headlines these days, but not really think much beyond the platitudes that are being expressed in the headline. So I want to encourage everyone to just look a little deeper, dig a little deeper. I know a lot of people have a problem with the way Trump tweets. I don't. I didn't vote for him, but I guess I never expected him to be anything other than he was. So I don't have a problem with Trump's tweets. But sometimes he'll tweet something and I'll cringe, I'll be like, oh, what is he doing? But what the first thing I always ask myself when he tweets something is it true? And I think that's a good rule to apply across the board for anything that we hear in public or that we read online. I think we're so quick to be offended at things that sometimes we never ask ourselves, is it true? So I want to examine some of that stuff. I am a political being, but I love entertainment. I work in the entertainment industry myself on the side, like a lot of people in Southern California where I live. And I love celebrity gossip. I love the entertainment industry in general. And I am a Black woman, so I look at all of this from that perspective of being a Black woman, being a Black wife, and a Black mother raising Black kids. I have a heart for racial conversation, racial reconciliation, and grace. I also like humor. I like to have fun, and I'm not a really big fan of sensitivity. So if you're too sensitive about this stuff, maybe this isn't the podcast for you. But I think if you stick around and listen, you'll be pleasantly surprised. This is the inaugural episode, and it's a little tough because I want to talk about subjects that are relevant, but I'm not quite sure when this episode is going to make it to air. I do have some things to say about the recent Democratic debates, and I want some of these candidates to listen to what they are saying out loud on the debate stage. Now, I'm recording this episode directly after the second round of Democratic debates. Excuse me, the second round of the second round. Because right now there's still about 24 Democratic candidates. It's been a mess. Obviously, I've been covering them for work, so I've got them on the brain. But I think what I have to say can withstand a little bit of time between recording this episode and publishing this episode. So bear with me if you will. I want to talk about right now for this episode, I want to talk about Bernie Sanders and Bill de Blasio. Of course, you probably all know Bernie Sanders. De Blasio is the mayor of New York. He's an infamous socialist, a proud socialist, and he is running on a blatantly socialist platform, as is Bernie. And I was watching the two of them speak on both nights. They were on different stages. Bernie was the first night. De Blasio was the second night. And de Blasio especially made a comment about, we're going to tax the hell out of the rich. And this is his main campaign point. Like, Kamala has health care, and Andrew Yang has his $1,000 for every family. And this is de Blasio's point. He wants everyone to know exactly what he's going to do, which, by the way, I actually appreciate that. I don't agree with it, but come correct with me, like at least give me the goods. Let me know exactly what I'm looking at when you're talking. So I do appreciate it when people are just dead honest about what they want to do. He wants to tax the hell out of the rich. All right. I get that. But I was listening to both of these gentlemen talk over the course of both nights, and they're both very passionate, and both of them especially have a heart for raising up low-income minority communities. Bernie wants to even the playing field. He talks a lot about closing the gap between the rich and the poor. He talks a lot about how that gap is widening, and so does de Blasio. That gap is widening. But what we need to do is take more from the top, give it to the bottom, and then that gives the bottom of the social tier more of an opportunity to move up into that wealthy class, right? This is what these two guys are both saying. And they're really focused on minority communities. De Blasio especially, his wife is Black. His children are mixed race like I am. And so I definitely believe he feels sincere in that belief. But this is what I see. This is what I hear when I hear them talking about this issue. And this is why I want to tell Bernie and Bill, just listen to yourself. Listen to what they're saying to us. They're saying that we don't have enough as Black Americans, as minority Americans, as people of color Americans. That's another conversation we can have on another day. I don't like that term, people of color, but whatever, we'll do that on another day. He's saying that we don't have enough opportunity. We're born disadvantaged because of our race and because of American history. And so it's not fair that we don't have access to this wealth. It's not fair that we're not having the same opportunities to earn this type of wealth. So we need to even that playing field so that we can have a piece of that wealth. Sounds good, right? Sound good to you? Sounds decent to me. I know the economics of that and what that means. And I don't believe it's ever good to take from one person by force to give to another. The word says you are supposed to give with a joyful heart. So you give it. You give that stuff. The difference between me and my liberal friends isn't that fundamental when you break it down. We both want to help people, but my liberal friends think the government should do it. And I think you should do it. That, to my mind, that's the only difference. So this is what they're saying. It sounds good on the surface, but let's break it down. What are they really saying? Because this is what I'm hearing. We want you Black people to have access to wealth. We want you Black Americans to be able to climb that ladder, to have all of the same rungs of opportunity that every other white American has. And to do that, we're going to tax the filthy rich people at the top who are greedy, who are the ones taking the opportunities from the bottom. And they're the problem in this country. They need to pay their fair share. They aren't contributing enough. They're sneaky. They're corrupt. We need to take more from them to give to you to level the playing field. Bill de Blasio, Black folks, wants you to be rich. He wants you to be rich. But listen to what he's saying. When you get to be rich, you will be the enemy. When you earn your way out of that bottom rung, if that's where you are now. By the way, the Black experience is very different in America right now than it was 20, 30, 40 years ago. There's an entire class of Black Americans who have been raised in the middle class, raised in the upper class, and know nothing about what we assume is the common Black experience these days, which, stereotypically is set in the hood. The Black experience has really expanded. We're everywhere now. But regardless, he's saying that you need help to get to the top, but when you get to the top, you'll be the problem too. That's what he's saying. That's what Bernie is saying. Bernie is saying minorities deserve to have wealth. Minorities deserve to have the opportunity to earn wealth. And also, wealthy people are the worst people on earth and deserve to be punished. Cardi B is getting a little bit of publicity for her discussions with Bernie Sanders, but that came about because she got her first big paycheck here in the US, took a look, saw that about 50% of it was gone off the top, taken by a government that really didn't help her earn all that money. And here she is thinking, I have this huge payday. It's still a big payday. I get it. But if your payday is, let's say, 12 million and you get 6, that's a big difference. I know what you're saying. I know. I can hear some of you right now. You're saying, I could do with $6 million. That's greedy. Well, you know what? She earned $12 million. That's what she earned. So you can imagine that you have worked your ass off. You've probably done some things you're not proud of. You've probably alienated a lot of people who loved you in order to get this far. You've compromised a lot. You've maybe sold pieces of your soul. You've maybe sold out your family in some way. This business is brutal. You have clawed and scraped your way to the top as a female artist, and then the government comes in and says, sorry, you're only entitled to half of what you have earned. Imagine this. Imagine it. I know this to a little extent because my husband and I were both born into poverty. Although in two different situations. I actually was raised in a rural area for a while. My husband was born and raised in the hood. He's born and raised in Gary, Indiana. But we had similar class backgrounds. And when we got married, he and I knew we wanted to be a part of the middle class. That was kind of unspoken. We really worked really hard to become property owners. We did the whole do good and come back to the hood thing. We did that, invested in the community, invested in the youth, started running some programs in the community, and worked really, really, really hard and gave away a lot. We gave away a good solid portion of our income, which was easier then because we were living in the hood. So the cost of living was way cheaper than it is now where we live here in California. But we did we gladly did all that. It was in service of the idea that we were working towards something better. And I can remember, my husband's in sales, and I can remember when we got our first big, like really big bonus. For us, it was huge. We were young. We had a young son. We had a young family. And this bonus was about $100,000. I mean, it was more money than either of us had ever seen at one time in our lives. And we were so excited to get that check. And so we get the check, and right off the top, 40 grand gone. So our $100,000 turned into $60,000. And that was the first time I had ever been faced with what happens when you finally make the money that you've been working your whole life to make, that you've been working your ass off your whole life to make. I mean, we had sacrificed so much. We sacrificed brand name foods and clothes and new clothes and trips and dinners out and new furniture. You know, we rehabbed furniture. We used to find furniture on the street, and actually it was fun. I kind of miss it, but we would find stuff and we'd fix it up and we'd make that. We lived in Indiana in the winter, and you all from the Midwest know what Midwest winters are like. So to avoid try to avoid the oil bill or the gas bill every month, we personally ourselves, we did the work ourselves. We installed a wood burning oven in our living room, and we used that for heat. We, like many of you, grew up in homes where our parents were scraping. They grew their own vegetables. They canned their own tomatoes. We did all kinds of stuff. We made all kinds of sacrifices. We took out student loans so we could go to college. We just made so many sacrifices to get there, and to see that this big check was coming in, and to know that, okay, finally we can pay off some of this debt. I mean, I get that $100,000 doesn't go very far, but when you're 30 some years old and you've been poor your whole life, that's a fortune. It's a fortune. And so we were like, okay, finally we can pay off some of the student debt. We'll pay off, this credit card that we have here and there. We'll take a nice trip and we'll give some to this person that we know needs some money. And our church was always doing work in the community. So we're going to, of course, donate our tithe to the church, all of that. And to see that it was $60,000 was heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking. So I get it. It's not the amount of money. It's the amount of work that you've put in to make this money. And that's why I want to say, listen to what Bernie is saying. Bernie, just listen to yourself. This is what you're saying. You're saying Black people deserve more. Black people deserve a hand up. Black people deserve to be wealthy. But when you are wealthy, I will treat you like the scum of the earth, and I will take what you've earned. That's what the government wants to do. That's what this white man wants to do. He wants you to be wealthy so he can take your money. I mean, we Black people, we're all for anybody who's going to be like, yeah, give us stuff so we can have more opportunity. We want more opportunity. You're right. Racism, systemic racism, all that stuff. We love those people. We don't stop to listen to what they're saying about the people at the top. That's where we're trying to go. We are trying to go to the top. And that's where they are trying to stop us from getting to. So they'll say whatever you want to hear to get your votes. But we need to extend their thoughts all the way to the end. Okay? We can't just stop at the headline. We need to pull that thought out, pull that reasoning out, and follow it all the way to the end of the line, because where it ends is theft. Where it ends is you do not deserve to keep the money you've earned. You already have enough. We'll decide where your money goes and who it goes to and who it helps. And don't ask any questions. Don't ask us where we put this money. Don't ask us about those slush funds or those campaign contributions or those fraudulent workers at the DMV, or don't ask us about any of that. Don't ask us. Just accept that it's for your own good. You don't know what to do with this money. We do. So I look at de Blasio and I look at Bernie, and I don't see them as helpers to the Black community, to any community really, but I can only speak from my experience as a Black person in this country. I don't see them offering anything that is genuine, that is helpful. At the end of the day, it's not helpful, because we all want to be rich, right? Who doesn't want to never have to worry about their bills again? We all want to be that person. But the fact is that there are certain elements, too many elements, almost everyone in the U.S. government who want to talk out of one side of their mouth and tell us we deserve this, that, and the other. And then out of the other side of their mouth want to say that the people who do make it out of their circumstances, that the people who do scrape and crawl their way to the top are not deserving of what they have. And therefore, it deserves to be taken from them. That's what we're looking at. Look, at the end of the day, there are a lot of people in this country who look at this country as a pie and look at the wealth that this country has as a pie, right? It's American as apple pie, American pie. Pies in America are associated. But that is the wrong way to look at it, because when you look at America as a pie, then there's only so many pieces to go around. And for somebody to have some, you've either got to split the piece, or somebody's getting more of the pie and the rest of us are getting less. But that's not what America is. America isn't a pie. America is a buffet, and we all bring a dish to the table. Some of us have struggle plates. Some of us got boiled chicken and nasty looking macaroni and cheese. And that thing that white people do with their sweet potatoes where they put marshmallows in them. Some of us have those plates. Some of us have gourmet dishes. Some of us have specialty dishes. Some of us bring the coffee, the tea, the beer. I'm bringing the scotch. My point is that we are all given a gift. And those of you who are churchgoers understand this language, right? That we're all endowed with certain gifts from God, and it's important to be able to act in your gifting. You know, it's important to share that with the world. And that's what America is. We all have to find out what our gift is, and then we all have to figure out how to get it to the table. Sometimes there are people in our way. That happens. Sometimes there are people who help us get it to the table. They help us carry the dish. They help heat the dish up. They help prepare the dish. They give us the ingredients. They advise us on how to mix it up, on the temperature to cook it at. Those people are there. But then what happens is we put it on the table. And when we add our dish to the table, the dinner gets larger. And the meal is more delicious. And the company is more interesting. That's how we need to look at America. Looking at America as a pie is the gospel of envy. And it doesn't belong in your heart, and it doesn't really belong in this country. We are a buffet table, and the more people we can get to that table, the stronger this country, and particularly the Black community, is going to be. So I'm interested in how we get to the table. Bernie and Bill are trying to pretend that they care about you getting to the table, but the only reason they care about you getting to the table is so that they can come take your dish. And then they're going to put out the pie for you. And you can try to cut off a little sliver of that pie. By the way, the pie is a flavor of their choosing, not yours. They'll put out the pie for you, and they're going to take your delicious dish. And they're going to take all the dinner, and they're going to say, you guys don't need this. How much do you really need to eat? This pie is enough for your sustenance. All you need is to live. You just need to live. Well, this pie will help you live. You only need to eat you can survive for 19 days without food? So 3 weeks, something like that. You don't need all this food. Have this pie. Get a little piece. It'll sustain you. You'll last at least 3 weeks. That's what they're selling us. I'm just saying, Bernie, listen to yourself. Listen to what you're saying. You are telling us that we deserve handouts so that we can get to the top. And you're telling us that the people at the top are horrible, evil, greedy people. And let's not mention, well, I'm going to mention it, Bernie's hypocrisy and Bill's hypocrisy. They're filthy rich. They are rich. Bernie has multiple vacation homes. I have no idea what Bill de Blasio's situation is, but he's the mayor of New York City, so you do the math. So no, I really don't appreciate rich people telling me how much I'm supposed to have and who I'm supposed to give it to. You know better than anyone what is needed in your own community. You know that because you live in the streets. You go to those churches. You shop those businesses. You attend those schools. You work there. You were raised there. You know which of your neighbors needs a phone bill paid and which of your neighbors actually just needs some tough love and needs a kick in the butt to get out there and find some work and find some positivity in their lives. You know that. You know why there's a homeless problem in your community, not some faceless bureaucrat in Washington, D.C. You know what your community needs. You should be able to keep your money and give it to the community in the way that you understand works best for your community. As it stands now, the government takes a piece of this pie, right? They're claiming it's a pie. They take a piece of your pie and they send it to Washington, D.C. So if you live in Indiana, they're taking your piece and they're sending the whole piece to Washington, D.C. And in Washington, D.C., a bunch of people get their forks out and they test the pie. And they're like, okay, this is good. I just need a little bite because in order for me to process this paperwork, I need some sustenance. So I need a little bite of this. And people keep taking a little bite of the pie while they pass it around from department to department. And then the pie finally gets put in an envelope and gets sent back to your community, not to you. by the way, back to your community, back to the politicians in your community. And then they look at it and they go, there's only half this pie left, but I need some sustenance or I can't do my job correctly. So I'm going to take a bite of it. And here, you over in this department, you take a bite so you can do your job. And by the time that piece of pie gets back to your community, it's just a crust. $1 that goes to Washington, D.C. comes back as 26 cents to your community. Why on earth would we so willingly send these dollars to a faceless bureaucrat in a city that's far away, to people who have never been where we live, who don't know who we are, how we love, who we help, and have no clue how to help our community? Every community is different. I can attest to this. I have lived all over this great country and parts of Canada. I have lived all over this country. I have lived on the East Coast. I have lived in the South. And I have lived now, and I've lived in the Midwest, and now I live in California. I live on the West Coast. I've lived all over this country, and I can tell you without a doubt that every community is different. Every community has different needs. You can't address every need in every community the same way. Guys like Bill and Bernie want to address every need in the community the same way, taking money from people at the top and giving it to people at the bottom, which sounds good in a tweet, which sounds good in a soundbite, which sounds good when you're having a debate with some idiot at a party. But I want you to just listen to yourself when you say these things out loud. And realize what you're saying. What you're saying is you don't deserve to be at the top, because if you get to the top, you are a terrible person, a sellout, and you have not earned your money. Is that the message you want to tell your kids? I don't want to tell my kids that. Matter of fact, that's a big reason why I went from a automatic Democrat, which I think a lot of us are, to being more right of center and being conservative. It's because I was leading a group of kids. I was actually the director of a nonprofit in Gary, Indiana, and we did mentoring, and it was after school program. And I looked at these kids one day. I was telling them that we were talking about rich people, and we were kind of complaining about rich people. I was too. And then I don't know, maybe it was God. Just all of a sudden, I just felt like, what am I doing? On the one hand, I'm spending all day, every day telling these kids that you can be whatever you want and you can have whatever you want if you work hard enough. And I'm telling these kids that they don't have to resign themselves to this life, to the hood life, to life in the projects, that they can have more, that they deserve more. I'm telling these kids that every day. I'm telling these kids, go out, work hard, save your money, be rich, and then come back to us and help up the next person. I'm telling these kids that every day. And on the same, and by the same breath, in the same breath, I'm telling them, oh, by the way, if you do get money, you're evil. By the way, if you do earn a lot of money, you're not a good person. And you don't deserve it. I'm telling them they deserve more, and I'm telling them they don't deserve more. That's really what changed my mind about a lot of stuff. I examined the messages and they didn't fit together. So, Bernie, Bill, I'm asking you to just listen to yourselves. And the next time, listener, that you want to go out and talk bad about rich people and how we need to take more from them. Surely there's bad rich people out there. I got news for you. There's no nobility in poverty. Do you understand? There are bad poor people. There are bad middle class people. There are bad rich people. Your income level does not determine your value as a human being. Okay? Let's get that straight. But the next time you want to talk about rich people, the next time you want to espouse the gospel of envy, and the next time you want to start talking about how rich people have not earned their way to the top, which you are not privy to that information for every single human being, by the way. Next time you want to talk about that, I want you to just listen to yourself. Guys, I am Kira Davis. Follow me on Twitter at realkiradavis. And you can find me on Facebook too. Same thing, at realkiradavis. Thank you to our new home on FCB. Join me over at redstate.com if you're into that kind of thing. And if not, just tune in to the next podcast episode where you can hear my lovely, melodic, not at all annoying voice any time of the day. Thanks, guys. Take care. Talk to you next time.